Are you somebody who only has access to hunt on public land with your dogs? You probably heard all the horror stories about how bad public land hunting can be. Well, in this episode, we want to talk a little bit about public land etiquette when hunting with dogs. And if you follow some of the things that I'm going to mention, I promise you it'll probably help your situation be a little bit better. You can make those memories with them. I'm your host, Stevie Thomas with Bawlin Out Kennels, where we help new and beginning handlers create, explore, and perfect the art of hunt dog training through stories, tips, and techniques, and that proper mindset to get you started in the right direction. And this past week, I was thinking about public land. I don't know if you are a person who follows some of the stuff that was getting proposed in Congress and whatnot when it came to the sale of a lot of acres of public land. It was a bill that got proposed, and there's a whole process behind all of that sort of stuff. But it was making its way through the chains and doing what it's supposed to be doing. And after people got wind of it, for the time being, it got shut down to where they were going to sell, I don't know, a lot of public land. At least it was getting proposed to be sold. And like I said, all the process that goes behind that. And it really got me thinking, because I'm a person, and maybe you are too, being new or beginning, or wherever you are in your hunting dog journey. I hunt a lot of public land. Like 98% of the videos you see that I post on Facebook and social media of the dogs running, the dogs treeing and hunting and whatnot, it's usually on a piece of public. Now here in Iowa, between March 15, July 15, we can't necessarily run on public land. At least we got like a leash law pretty much. Your dog got to be on leash, which that's another conversation for another day. So I'm in a waiting period right now, counting down the days until I can really get back to training the way I do. But again, it really got me start thinking about public land and how you as a new handler, new dog person, can access some of that, and how it can actually be really beneficial. Because the more people you talk to, it's really becoming prevalent that a lot of ground that people used to have growing up, or just that they could hunt, is going away. There was a really big period to where a lot of the ground that they could hunt is being sold, it's changing hands, and now a lot of people don't have as much land as they could before. And, you got between big companies, corporations and whatnot coming in and buying some of the land, or just people in general coming to buy it, and they may not hunt, or they may not understand how important or how fun hunting with dogs can be, and they may look at it some type of way, and they don't allow any hunting on that land now. And there's been situations where I've talked to a few guys where, man, they've shot their first squirrel on this property, or first rabbit on this property, first coon, first deer, turkey, and now it had gotten sold, and they've been hunting there for 30, 40, sometimes even 50 years, and now they no longer have access to it. I hope you're enjoying the episode, but did you know people are becoming more interested in rabbit hunting with beagles, but might not know how to start? Don't worry, I got your back. I wrote a book called Producing a Future Rabbit Dog. In this book, I talk about proven concepts, tips, and techniques that I've been using for the last 10 years on all my rabbit dogs. If you're looking for easy to follow information and a guide to get you started on the right track, go to bawlinoutKennels.com and grab your copy. That's Bawlin Out Kennels, BAWLINOUT Kennels.com. Your future rabbit dog awaits. Let's get back to the episode. To where that side of stuff is shrinking. Like it is shrinking pretty fast, to where the accessibility to hunt in different places is just going away. So what's it gonna revert back to is basically public land. A lot of people are being reintroduced to hunting on public. Again, as you as a new handler, new dog person, I want to try to give you some tips or just some ideas, just something to think about hunting on public land. Because it can be a great resource, and yes, you will have to tailor it to what state you're in. In Iowa, luckily, we have a really good amount of public land. It's not like we have huge tracts of timber or any of that sort of stuff, But most of the game that you're looking for, you can find it somewhere on public land. I got me and good buddies we'll meet, text each other, hey, you off this day, you off this day? Like, yeah, okay. And we'll look on the map, the DNR map we got here, and we'll literally just go pick a piece of public, whether that's running, rabbits. Most of the time it's beagles. We'll meet up and rabbit hunt, squirrel hunt, coon hunt. Just checking out public, and most of them you can find, especially small game, you can find a lot of the animals you're looking for. So again, depending on what state you're in, you may have to do some footwork and coordinate some stuff, but I'm pretty sure you might have access to hunting some public land. So really got me thinking of like public land etiquette, especially when it comes with hunting with dogs. You have to remember there's people out there who never hunted with dogs. They really don't understand the concept. They just think that our dogs are just, put on a chain outside and left there until it's time to hunt. And when we're done hunting, they just get back on the chain and that's their life. You and I both know that ain't the case at all. A lot of the dogs are inside dogs. They dang near sleep in the bed with you or whatever. We work really hard to build good kennels for them, make sure they have everything they need to be successful, comfortable, because it's hard to work when you're not comfortable, you're not warm, you're not, we take great care of our dogs. But there's people out there who have no idea the concept of hunting with dogs, and they still obviously have the ability to hunt public land. Now I will tell you right out the jump, there are gonna be people who are going to push your buttons on public land. I'm just preparing you for what's to come when you hunt on public land. There's gonna be people who have bad attitudes. There's gonna be people who don't want to work with you, won't say anything to you. You try to have a conversation with them. It's just prepare yourself for that. But what's the flip side? The flip side is you don't have to be like that. Just because that person is acting like that, that does not mean you have to be like that. Most of the time, those people are having some issues to begin with. I'll just leave it at that. And that doesn't mean you have to. You can still enjoy public land. You still can enjoy your dogs. You're probably having more fun than them anyway. So try not to let those people get under your skin or get you down or change your mood, because it's going to happen. So just prepare yourself for something you might have to walk into. But what it really comes down to is, first and foremost, just being respectful of the public land. Just being respectful. Clear, if nothing else, this bill that was, being proposed or just going through the process is letting you know that they are trying to take away what you have access to. And it could potentially be taken away from you if you don't take care of it. Maybe with all the Facebook groups we have and those sort of things, it could be even a situation to where wherever you are, whichever state you are that have public land, maybe you can even set up a group, I don't know, call it public land pickup, to where you get a group of people and whatever public land you guys want to go to that day, you just go pick up stuff in the parking lot. Empty beer cans, bottles, plastic, whatever is there, you just make a fun day of it. Actually, that would be really cool. I actually just thought about that. That would actually probably be pretty cool to do. Public land pickup. If nothing else, it'll give you access to meet different people who also is going to be hunting the same land that you are, that you can create friendships. Obviously, people are going to be hunting the same place you are. Get to know them, create buddies, and now y'all can work together to hunt this piece of public instead of being a stranger to each other. And man, that would be really cool. That maybe somebody should take that on and do that, and possibly even work with, your conservation or your DNR, officers in that area. I know a lot of those guys have really big areas. And even if you didn't want to work with them, just really using social media to put something like that together. Again, banding together. So when somebody looks at it, they can see, oh crap, well, these hunters and people who hunt with dogs, they actually do care. They're here picking up trash and whatnot. And I get it. You weren't the one that put it down there, hopefully. So it shouldn't be your job to pick it up. I get it. I understand it shouldn't be that way, but I've done it. Just trying to leave it better than what you found it. I've always been taught that since I was little. Try your best to leave it better than you found it. If nothing else, it'll show other people that you actually care about the land that you have and take care of it. But again, above all, just be respectful. There's going to be people there who are going to push your buttons. They're not going to want to interact with you, and that's fine. Just still keep it respectful. Enjoy your dogs. Enjoy the places you have to hunt, and just keep it moving. Because before long, you're going to be out making memories, having fun, and you're just going to forget about those people. One thing is really you want to think about, though, is always having a backup spot. And I would say in public land, having 2 or 3. Having backup spots will allow you still to hunt the dogs, whether that's hunting beagles, coon dogs. A lot of times with coon dogs, you really don't have an issue since that's being at night. Especially up here, I rarely run into anybody when I'm running my coon dogs. Coon hunting, I rarely run into anybody on the public land that I go to, and there's so much of it between river bottom areas. You know, we got state ground, county ground. There's plenty of it, but I rarely run into anybody. But if you're hunting squirrels with your dogs, hunting rabbits with your dogs, even bird dogs, hunting pheasant, you're probably going to run into people that time of day. So just having another spot in your back pocket to where, hey, if I pull into this spot and somebody's there, okay, that's cool. They beat me to it. Maybe they got up earlier than I did, or whatever the case, and you go to another spot. And it may be a situation too to where you're at that other spot, somebody may beat you there. So just always having a backup plan of places to go. That just allow you to continue your hunt. Your day is not ruined, and you still can get out there and do what you're planning to do. You know, try to time it out. Timing it out, and what I mean by that is a lot of times people around 10 o'clock, most people get up early and hit public land. They're done by then, to where there's a gap. There's usually always a gap. I've learned that over the years, to where sometimes I don't necessarily get up at the crack, of dawn. I'm not getting up right when the sun is always coming up. Sometimes I let them early birds do what they're gonna do, and I'll roll in 10:30. Especially in the fall where it's not super hot by that time of day, and you still can get the dogs in there and run some rabbits or tree some squirrels or whatever you're planning to do. You still can get that done using the dogs. That's the one thing I love about working with the dogs too. They allow you more opportunities than if you were to still hunt squirrels, or if you were to kick brush piles with rabbits and all those sort of things. The dogs allow you more opportunities, because really, depending on no matter what time of day it is, if the animals are out and moving, dogs can find them. You'll still have an opportunity to hunt. So sometimes just let the early people get there, and usually 10:30, if you have the ability to do it, start your hunt then. So like I said, most of the time, that's when people are really starting to leave. They're starting to leave. They're starting to pack it up for the day, and it'll allow you to hunt. Sometimes it's even later. Again, those fall cooler temperatures and the heat of most of the seasons, to where, it's still only 40 degrees at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever it is. Hunt later. Sometimes I actually prefer hunt later than early in the morning, because most of the game animals that I'm hunting, they get back active in the evening time, especially rabbits. I love running rabbits in the evening. They get back out moving, doing their thing. Squirrels the same before they go up for bed. They're out moving around, eating up before going to bed. It's a lot of fun, and most of the time you'll have that public land to yourself. And again, I'm gonna keep saying it will depend on which state you go and how much pressure is on your public land, but in most places the pressure is not on squirrels and rabbits. More pressure is on deer and pheasants and that sort of stuff. We really have a lot of pressure, at least where I'm at. So try to time it out to where maybe you hunt later in the morning, or even early afternoon to late afternoon. Another thing to think about is being mindful of the seasons. Here in Iowa, our rabbit season runs. It usually starts, beginning of September, sometimes very late August, but beginning of September all the way up until the end of February. So you really have a good chunk of time to get the dogs working, to harvest a lot of rabbits, and just have fun. You have a lot of time to do that. And our squirrel season runs decently long. I wish it was a little bit longer, of course. But it opens the same time rabbit does, usually beginning of September, and it'll run to January 31st. Obviously, I wish it would run a little bit longer, but hey, you work with what you got. So being mindful, here in Iowa, October 1st usually is our bow season opener for deer. You'll sometimes see an influx of people around that time period. So depending on, when you're hunting, especially those first few weekends when the season is open, sometimes I'll pass on hunting those first couple weekends. Again, just being respectful of bow hunters. I'm not huge into deer hunting. I'm getting a little bit better with it. But I respect other hunters, and I know a lot of those people are waiting for that opener. And usually it's still fairly hot, so sometimes those guys are just trying to get in there and just trying to scratch the itch like we are, running our dogs like we do. So sometimes I'll pass on hunting some of those first couple weekends, at least just switch up my times that I go hunting, just to allow those other guys to get in there and have some fun too. Because I know at the end of the day, and our deer season here goes from basically October 1st until January 10th. So they have to try to make something happen in a fairly small amount of time, because you got to take into account the temperatures in the early season are usually still fairly hot. Deer aren't moving quite as much. You still can get it done sometimes early, but the likelihood of it is just not as high. So then you got November comes around, which is usually fairly good weather, and everybody knows the rut here in Iowa and especially the Midwest can get wild. So there's a ton of people taking their vacation times there. And there's going to be a lot of people in the woods. So even then, sometime around the rut, I really don't hunt as much, or I pick different day, or I'll go during the week, or, I'll just work around some of those other people, because I understand that that's the prime time that they've waited all year, all season, to hunt those time of year. And I'll let them have it. It's fine, because I understand that my season, especially small game running my dogs, is way longer than theirs. And usually after the rut, for the most part here in Iowa, the hunting pressure on public land goes down quite a bit. And I almost skipped it, even pheasant opens usually late October, October 26th, somewhere in there, to where that's also a time period to where there's going to be a big influx of people on public land. And our pheasant season doesn't open until 8 o'clock in the morning and closes at 4:30, I believe, every day. And beginning the early season of pheasant, obviously you still can rabbit hunt until, sunset. You can hunt before the sun comes up and that sort of thing. But again, I'll allow those people to get their opportunity to hunt. I've noticed over the years, usually the first couple weeks of pheasant season here in Iowa, the public land gets hit pretty hard. I wouldn't say it hits hard, but you'll see a lot more people on it. And then usually after that third week, you'll really start to see it phase out to where it's almost back to normal. But then you'll see a switch where, a lot of bow hunters start to hunt when the rut's starting to kick off and that sort of thing. Again, I allow them to have it. The benefit we have of hunting with dogs, in my mind, is a lot of times I know where a lot of the game that they're looking for. I know exactly where they are. I know exactly where they hang out, because I'm usually on this public land longer than just the week before that season starts, or the week of that season, because I've been running my dogs for a while there, getting them in shape and just watching them run, having fun. So when people are going there, even pheasant hunting, I know where most of the pheasants like to hang out. I go there different times of day. I can pretty much tell you where they're hanging out at, because you see them. You're out there enough. You're working the dogs enough. You see them. Even the deer. A lot of people think, and that's a really big conversation, whether deer, dogs run off deer. And most people, and you guys know, especially being new, most people think that the dogs are chasing the deer. I don't know any houndsmen who have a dog that's tailored for a specific animal that wants their dog running deer. It's just not how it works. We can't here in Iowa, but I don't know anybody who has tree dogs or have rabbit dogs who want their dog chasing deer. It's just not what it is at all. And a lot of times the deer, they don't run, they don't go anywhere. And it's hard to tell people who've never worked with dogs before and try to explain that to them. So just be mindful of that. You may get some flack for some of that sort of stuff, but if the dogs aren't actively chasing the deer come right back. They always do. But you being there and hunting as much as you do and training your dogs, you know exactly where the deer like to hang out at. And a lot of times, I promise you, you spend enough time on this public land, you're going to see some big deer. You're going to see the big deer that people are chasing, and you'll know right where he's hanging out or where you're more likely to see him. Some of those people don't necessarily know that. So again, give them that opportunity to have their fun, because you know your season, your time is going to last longer than theirs. So really being mindful of some of those seasons. Here in Iowa, what I try to do or what I try to teach people, and I don't know if everybody catches on to it or not, parking. I really try to set up my parking to where if there's an area that you're hunting, and sometimes those public land we have some big, pieces of it and several different parking spaces. Sometimes before I actually go to the space or the place I want to go, I'll drive through and see if there's other trucks parked or other cars parked in some of those other entrances that you may not even be conscious of. You may not even know anybody's there. What that allows you to do, to one, be respectful, because you really don't want to dump the dogs on somebody who's hunting something else. That'll be a really quick way to make some enemies, and that's the last thing we want to do. That's the last thing I want to teach you as a new handler, to just dump the dogs wherever, regardless of who's already there, regardless of what they're hunting, regardless of what's going on. We always want to be respectful regardless. And there's going to be people, I'll tell you too, that they're not going to do that. They may hear your dogs running, they may see you parked in a certain spot, and they're still just going to do what they're going to do. And that's okay. It's going to be frustrating, so be prepared for that. But that doesn't mean you have to follow that. So parking, if you have a big parking space and it's a big area that you can hunt, I try to park on the side of the area that I'm going to be going to, especially if there's nobody there. My hope is to see, that somebody who comes through the parking lot, like same way I did, okay, this truck is on this side of the parking lot. I can probably guess that this guy, wherever they are, they're probably going to be on this side of the public. So I'll go to the other, or I'll park on this side, letting someone know who comes in, okay, there's a truck over here. This guy or this person is probably headed that way. So don't turn the dogs loose or don't go hunt over there. Just something to think about. If there's somebody already there, again, this is what we talked about in the beginning, having another backup spot. Let's go to another spot. Usually you can double back in a couple hours, and I've noticed that most of the time, those trucks or those people are gone. Now, that would be a little bit different during the rut. A lot of people will be out there all day. And again, I try to allow those people to hunt those time of year, because I understand, and you'll start to notice these patterns to where people aren't going to be in the woods after that time period. Another time period, at least here in Iowa, is gun season. I really do not hunt my dogs unless it's coon dogs. I'll still coon hunt, but I do not take my rabbit dogs. And this year I'll be bird hunting, so I will not be taking my bird dogs out during our gun season. We still have shotgun, and they just opened it up to some smaller caliber rifle calibers, but there's still, the party hunting is still there, to where people, there's pushers and blockers, and people are walking through the woods, and it's a time period you just really it can be very dangerous, is what I'm getting at. And the last thing I want to do is be hit by a stray slug or a stray rifle round, because people are out pushing deer around, moving them and taking shots they probably normally wouldn't take. So for me, there's really a break in there, about 3 weeks in December, from the beginning of December up until a little bit before Christmas, to where I'm really watching when I'm hunting my rabbit dogs, and like I said, this year it'll be bird dogs too, on public. If you can sneak in there and go during the week, you'll probably have a better opportunity. But weekends and that sort of thing is something to really be cautious about, because there's going to be people out about pushing deer and doing that sort of thing. And usually in our area where I'm at, after that, it's you almost won't see anybody. After that last phase of shotgun season for us, which is again a little bit before Christmas, you're hard pressed to find anybody on public. So what does that allow you to do? It opens up free range, and now you can pretty much go to whichever public you want to and hunt like nobody was there. At least that's the pattern I've noticed. And I said I've hunted 98% public, and I have for many years now. And that's something to think about. It may be different for where you're at, but there's some patterns to start paying attention to. Again, with those seasons running a little bit longer, and you have to look at what your season dates are where you live at. Some I know don't even start, rabbit hunt. They don't even start until basically November, and they only run until January. So they're fairly short. So you have to make some things happen during those time periods. So I said, luckily in Iowa, we have pretty good season lengths for what we like to hunt. So again, just going back through a little bit about those, being respectful. Always be respectful no matter what. And it may be cool to set up a Facebook group of public land pickup. That's what I'm going to call it, to where you set it up. Hey, we're going to this public land. We just want to try to pick up, just show that we respect the land, that we have the ability to hunt. If somebody's open to it, we would love to have you, and just treat it as a networking, a mingling session. Now you can make some friends, meet some people. You guys are hunting the same land. You guys can coordinate and talk to each other. Maybe even be hunting the same deer and letting each other know, hey, I'm going to this stand. My stand's over here. Again, that comes with being respectful and not trying to impede on somebody else's little area that they're hunting in. But it also comes with talking to the other hunters. Talk to them. Have a conversation. We're all in this public. It's public. It's wide open for anybody. Why make it even harder on each other than we have to instead of working together? I'm huge. I don't care what type of game animal you hunt. We're better working together than we are apart. I can almost promise you, it'll save yourself so much time working with somebody else in the area you got to hunt than trying to work around them and not work together. It just doesn't work as well. So having a conversation with some people, it's like, hey, this is where I hunt most of the time. My stands are here and there. You don't have to tell them exactly. But hey, this is my area I'm trying to hunt. I got a couple stands out here, and hey, this guy may say, oh, I hunt over here. Hey, have you seen any deer? Boom, now you have a friend to where, hey, I don't want to impede on where you're going. If I see your truck, more than likely, I know you're probably going to be over here. So I'm going to try to enter this way or that way. Just work together. Work together. Everybody can have a place to hunt more times than not if you just have a conversation. So having backup spots. Having those backup spots in your back pocket to where if somebody's already there before you, your hunt can continue to go. You still have a place to drop them dogs. And whether it's running rabbits, birds. Like I said, a lot of times coon hunting, I really don't run into many people. But if there was ever somebody in a spot I wanted to coon hunt, same deal. I would just go somewhere else, have a backup spot. Try to time out the seasons. Figuring out which season is hot right now. Understanding that if there's people who are going to hunt public, which most places there's always somebody who only has access to public, like you or me. Just timing out the seasons, understanding which season is hot then, and kind of fall back a little bit. Let those other individuals have that time period, maybe the first part of the morning. It'd be good to have some money too, but the first part of the morning, and then you come back in later in the afternoon, or late morning, and hunt your dogs then. Trying to time out, different times a day that you would like to hunt. Just being mindful of some of those things. Being mindful of how long your season is, when it lasts, and what's hot right now. What are most people going to be hunting right now? And parking lots. If you have a place to where you're going to be hunting, there's multiple parking spaces, there's multiple entrances. If you have the time and opportunity, try to drive around to some of those entrances and make sure nobody's there. Because the last thing you would want to do is walk in on somebody's hunt. And I've actually had that happen, and it worked out good for me. Here in Iowa, we were down hunting by Cedar Rapids. We hunt a nice place down there. And one of the other entrances, I didn't do my drive around. I pulled into the big parking lot and I saw nobody was there. It's like perfect. So I dropped the dogs, and before you know it, there was like 4 other dogs that joined in with ours. We went in there, we jumped the rabbit pretty quick, and the dogs are running. And I saw 4 dogs I've never seen before, and they just joined the pack. And now we had a big pack running, and I start looking around, and there's a older gentleman and his son and her and his wife, and they joined in our pack, and it was like conversation. Hey, I'm sorry this happened. We didn't know, and we actually made some buddies that way. We hunted the rest of the day together. We harvested some rabbits, and it was really fun, And I've actually had conversations with those people now, to where, we tried to meet up and hunt again. And I think, this fall we're gonna try to do it, and meet up and hunt. So those opportunities can happen, and you can make friends that way, but that doesn't always have a happy ending. So if you can check those other spots, check those other interests and parking spaces, and try to see if somebody's already there, that would just allow you the headache, and maybe you have to choose another spot. That way you don't mess up somebody's hunt and make an enemy. That's the last thing you want to do. So we're just talking about some hunting, public land hunting etiquette with dogs. You got to remember, the dogs don't know the boundaries. So you as the handler, if you were to drop a dog and another truck or a person or a car is in a certain area, using your Garmin or your dog trail, whatever GPS system you have, to control the dogs, to keep them as best you can over the spot that you're hunting. Again, the dogs don't know the boundaries, so you don't want to put them in a situation or a spot to make somebody angry as well and have something horrific happen to one of your dogs because of it. So just being mindful, respectful of all those sort of things, and I promise you'll go a lot further with that type of attitude and that mentality hunting public land than the opposite. So I hope this helps somebody. Again, try to use some of this public land etiquette and start that group, and I promise you can create those memories like we always talk about. And I'm Stevie Thomas of Bawlin Out Kennels. Stay sharp, stay real, stay houndy.